Wendy, how are you doing this morning? All right. I'll leave a message. Ah, all right. Everyone is joining now. Apologies for being, I don't even know if you guys noticed that I was not in the meeting yet, but I'll apologize anyway. I was running from another call. We'll give it a couple, I'll give it another minute and then we'll start. Uh, how's everybody doing today? There we go, Wendy.
Doing
I asked
well,
I
thank
asked
you.
how you were doing Wednesday, and you didn't even respond. So I was like, oh well, it's one of those days, huh?
I responded, I said, "Doing well, thank you."
Oh, oh, all right. All right, guys. As people join, they join. But we'll get started. So I hope everybody is having a wonderful Wednesday so far. Last week's session, I hope you guys enjoyed it with Tony. It's always a nice kind of uh I don't know what the right way to describe it is, but he brings a different energy. And I love to see how engaged you guys are with the content. I think a lot of the stuff that he's going through and presenting to you guys is what's needed right now. Again, it's less about the what, more about the how to do it. So he shared that some of you guys had booked sessions with him. So I'd love to see that. And he will be presenting next week as well. We're going to do a session on demystifying digital. Today, we are going to talk about something that is something, frankly, I struggle with. Um, and I would imagine that some of you on the call have challenges here, especially some people who are new to kind of prospecting and the hygiene, as I like to call it. Um, so for those of you who have a good system in place, feel like you have repeatable processes and engine. Some of this will be, oh, I've heard it before, thanks Brandon. But for those of you who are like, hey, like, how do I just build a predictable business? How do I get consistency? How do I manage the ebb and flow to not have the ebbs and flows be so wild, the variability? We're going to talk a little bit about that today. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen and present, and we will kick things off. All right. Uh, I will assume you guys can see it because I can't see you. And let's go. So, building a predictable business, right? Predictable results. We all crave predictability. It's all around us. Stock market, everything we do is about predictability and order. I'll ask that those of you who are
Negative motor.
unmuted, please mute because it's really disruptive to everybody on the call. So just be mindful of that. Um, so building a predictable business, it starts with organization and it starts with consistency. And a lot of times we get caught up, and you guys have heard me in the individual sessions. Sometimes I say it. It's something that my old boss used to tell me. It's like, you're doing a lot of stuff and you probably think you're making progress, but none of it's amounting to anything. And so I know it makes you feel really good inside. I care about outcomes and I don't see any. And that was really sobering for me to hear. And it kind of made me take stock about, like, okay, what am I doing? Is all the effort that I'm doing amounting to anything? Do I have a process of measuring it? Am I sticking with it to the results, or am I trying it once and being, oh, I didn't get the results, and then trying the next fad or the next thing? So I urge you guys, as difficult as it is, when you don't see immediate results, because we live in this world of immediacy, to not just give up and think that it's not working. Many times the things that you see around you that finally hit home, maybe it's the right time that it hit you in your purchasing journey, and so it resonated. It's because things are repeatable. It's the same reason why you see commercials over and over again, why you see billboards that say the same thing. There's a method, there's a methodology there. You guys should apply it to your business as well. So just a quick refresh. I always like to do this at the outset of the calls, just a reminder of what we're building. And none of these sessions are at random. There's thought in this, and the story arc we're building, or this thing we're architecting here, is by design from the very first session when we started talking about hitting the reset button on prospecting, the mindset shift, what it takes, what it requires, right? The importance of the goal setting, importance of having tools to help you get the information, more accurate information sooner, right? How to make sense of that information to find a motivation, and then bring that urgency forward via messaging. Now it's about systematizing that. So Tony talked last week about, the offer. And I know some of that was new language to you. It was to me when I first heard it also. Something very mechanical and industrial, like a coupon. How does that make sense for my business? And a slight reframing of it, and being more kind of organized and economical about what it is. What is the thing of value you're giving to get something in return? And the thing that you're getting in return doesn't necessarily have to be, hey, when do I sign the listing agreement? Or I'd love to work with you. When do we start? But more about, hey, here's who I am. Here's who I'm for, right? Here's what I think you should be concerned about. Here's why you should be concerned about it now. Here's why I'm the right person to help you solve or realize this opportunity. And it starts with a conversation. And so your job now in prospecting, and this is the mindset shift here, is to the marketing mindset shift, rather, is to not think about every single engagement and think, I need to get something meaningful. And by meaningful, they need to say, I'll work with you, or it needs to be something so powerful that signifies, oh my God, this was a success. This was worth it. Many times the conversation, the ability to create a conversation and continue to keep talking to that person, that's the success. And so I know it's a bit, I don't want to say earth shattering. It's not that worthy, but it is a slight shift in perspective as to what the markers of success are. And your job as an agent is to, one, try to create as many opportunities to converse with people, to share who you are, to share how excited you are, to share how you help people, to share what your expertise is, and dimensionalizing that. And what do I mean by dimensionalizing that? So one-to-one conversation is great, but Wendy Marioni can't be in more than one place at one time. So she needs to scale herself, right? How do you dimensionalize across time, space, geography while you're sitting in this session listening to me? And that's through the power of technology. It's the power through having repeatable plays, so you don't have to do all the heavy lifting and the follow-up. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want you guys to kind of shift your thinking. And this is something I speak from a place of, I'm going through this also. So this is not something I am preaching to you and don't follow myself. I come from a world of big brand, right? Traditional marketing, big brand marketing, where it is about campaigns, right? You're big. What are you putting all your investment dollars behind, and what are you flighting this quarter? And it was a shift in focus when I started to think more about growth hack marketing for small businesses and entrepreneurs, about being nimble, agile, meeting people where they're at. Knowing that you don't have the big brand that draws people to you, you have to get in the way of opportunity. And we know that it doesn't always happen when you say something the first time, right? It takes consistency and follow through. And what that requires is an engine, a system, a process, right? Your activities, the offers, think of it as the lubricant, the oil that fuels your ability to have a conversation. And you doing the things that you do each day, right? I'm going out, talking to people, the activities, that's the fuel, right? So you need the activities, you need the right type of fuel to get this car to go. I might be bastardizing this analogy here, but to get the engine to start moving so the car can go. And what we know is when you don't fuel it, You run out of gas, you stop. Right. So what we don't want is oh my God, I'm doing this thing. It's not working. I'm going to switch and pivot and try something else. And you have to stop, start, stop, start. We wonder why things don't happen more consistently, or we're not building momentum. And it's in large part because we're not sticking with it. And it's crazy for me to think, because I hear it fringe when I first heard it. But traditionally, if you see something that's not working, you're like, well, that's telling me something. And it might be, right? It might mean that you need to calibrate or shift your messaging. It might mean you need to change a process, right? Or the ordering of something. But without a system and a process, you'll never know what it is that's actually not working and where to go and recalibrate. And so that's why we build these habits, the good hygiene, the repeatable processes, the way to track it, because you can see, and we'll talk about this today, where in the process is this breaking down. And funnel marketing, which you guys have been exposed to, which was that first thing that I did with you guys when we first sat here, where I asked you guys to download my cheat sheet, go there, fill in your information, set up a strategy appointment, uh, start a free trial, come to the one-on-one session with your trial. We'll work navigate, and then you'll be given a thumbs up or a thumbs down wherever you're coming in at. That was what we were talking about here, right? Dangle an offer that is of interest to you, right? You are interested in, yes, Brandon, I would love to learn how to get 10 listing appointments in the next 90 days. Who wouldn't? Right? Well, here you go. Right? The red meat. Some of you bit into it, and then you started to get into my funnel. And in that funnel, I started to have a conversation with you. And as you saw, and again, I want you guys, those of you who have been in these one-on-one sessions with me, and see that it's not all about navigate, it's all about you guys and learning more about your business. And hopefully I'll leave here with relationships with you guys, and you guys know you can call me. All of that started by me dangling a cheat sheet. So if we go all the way back to the beginning, and some of you are like, oh my God, navigate this guy's selling, boom, boom, boom. It's all leading to this moment here because you guys saw it and were exposed to it and see the power of it. Now, fortunately for me, you guys show up every single Wednesday, so I get to reinforce it. But what this should show you is, just like I get on here and speak to you about prospecting, you might find new interesting ways to communicate with your prospect around something that you're passionate about and might have a subject matter expertise that is of interest to them. So in many ways, just like the prospect you're going after, you guys are my prospects here. And we're working this process. And you build relationships from this process. And what we've built and what you're seeing happen in real time is an engine. So none of it is random. Everything is purposeful, and it takes effort. But I will promise you this, if you stick with it, the predictability you crave, the scalability you're looking for, the efficiency, right? What communication, what activity is driving the right result? And to show you how that's playing in real life on my side, as you think about your business and the things that stick and don't stick, is one of the most powerful things that you guys have is a CRM. And, if you're like me, oh, I remember everything. I know where everything is. I know where this person is in the process, this, that, and the third, right? It's my superpower. Well, it's also my kryptonite. Having a CRM actually allowed me to look at my funnel from the very moment I started talking to you guys, and you guys downloaded the cheat sheet. To those of you who might have subscribed for a free trial for Navigate, or even a full subscription, and saw the process that I wanted to run and what was actually not happening, that was not in sync with the process. Right. So the hypothesis I had is that you guys would download a free trial and then come to the meeting. The large majority of you didn't. And so when we looked at it, and Tony and I did this yesterday, we saw that something was wrong in the messaging, that wasn't either made clear, or that was what the ask was. And why that's important for me is now I know where to go back and investigate. If that's what I wanted to get to this desired outcome, and this is what wasn't happening, something happened here that wasn't clear. Right. So when you have these systems and a CRM in place, right, where it's not just up here or written down somewhere, you start to pick apart your business, systematize it, and see where things break down. I come from as much as I've done marketing, I've also done operations. So my brain, every time I think about something, I think about two things. One, supermarket shelf, right? And that's you guys and your brand, right? How do you show up? How do you stand out? How do you get somebody to select you? And the other thing I think about is production floor, right? This bottle of water, when it went from just the packaging to it being filled to the label going on to it going out, right? Being put on the truck to it ending up on the shelf to your hands, it's a process, right? And then if you know operations, there's things that follow the process and there's things that fall out of the process. And then we investigate the falling out. So it's those of you Six Sigma, I know some of you on the call know about that. Like that is about process improvement, making sure that the waste or the errors don't happen. But you can't spot them unless you have that conveyor belt and you know you have the right tooling, as they say in manufacturing. The offers, the CRMs, your conveyor belt, which is the CRM, all the things you're doing, that is your tooling, making sure it's right, recalibrating when it's not, so you can have a good finished product. But I probably lost a lot of you in that analogy, but for the operations people on the call, hopefully you will get it. So last week, Tony introduced the market report, and Tony and I have sometimes have difference of opinion on the efficacy of it and the importance of it. I think, well, not the importance rather, but the impact, if you will. It is something that people who are looking at real estate agents would expect them to have knowledge of and to expect them to share. Um, the arena in which you operate, the inventory in which you are looking to buy and sell and transact and help people with, right? That's your domain. And so to have knowledge of what's happening in the arena or your domain, that's table stakes. You have to have it. And we use it for different purposes. When we might use it to re-engage past clients, right? To get them, stimulate them, stay top of mind with them. Me personally, not sure if that's the best way to do it, but it is a way to do it. Certainly not saying you should not do that, but it should be something that complements a bigger effort. Many of you might use the market report to revive stale leads, people who were there, showed interest, but it wasn't the right time. So you want to show them, hey, might have not been the right time. I'm showing what's happening in your market so we can capture and identify when the right time is for you. And when you know who I am because I stay top of mind. And some of you might use it to actually reach out to cold leads. But if you weren't thinking about purchasing, if you weren't thinking about selling, here's why you should think about it. Here's what's happening. I'm Brandon Weaver. Let's have a call. And all of that is right. All of those audiences can benefit from having a market report. But what this is about is not just the report and then expecting everything to come in your inbox to flood because your report was so good and so informative and the time was just right. Not going to happen. Right? It's about repeating this process. Right? When there's updates or refreshes or meaningful information, yes, the market report sprinkling in something that might be topical locally, right? To build that urgency, right? So curating it so it's not just formulaic, but also repeating it, right? And complementing it. So your report that you send out, whether it's to get a new customer, whether it's to re-engage or revive old leads, needs to be followed with good follow-up hygiene. And you'll oftentimes hear it many times salespeople fail because they don't do the follow-up or they don't reach out. And I think some of that is true. I don't think all of it is, but I think a large majority of it is. It's the sticking with it because you never know when it's going to hit with someone. We want it to hit immediately. It doesn't always happen. Like it doesn't happen with you. But if we stick with it and we build a repeatable process and we know what we're sending actually is something that your audience would want to consume, right? Relevant information. And we know you're the subject matter expert who's sharing that information and all these things tied together because you built that authority. Now you start to have conversations and get people into your funnel. And if you go back to I can't remember how long ago it was, we were talking about the use of certain, call it your marketing weaponry, postcards in particular. Right? Many of you were disappointed that your postcard didn't get the intended or desired effects. And if you recall, I said that the postcard perhaps it wasn't meant to do all the heavy lifting for you, but to set the stage for you to showcase where you shine, right? Bring people to an arena where you thrive, where your brand comes to life. And the market report might be the same thing, right? It might be a snapshot of what's happening, right? Previous sales, trend lines, but there could be something there specific to the area you're targeting that you want to raise awareness around and say, have a call to action. If this is of interest to you, if this is something that you're facing, I'm hosting a webinar, seminar, whatever it is. Use a QR code or go to this link, come to my landing page, capture the information, then starts the conversation and the process of nurturing that. So this is about what are the things that you dangle out, the offers, right? The market report, making sure that it's something that people will latch on to. And it's not about recreating stuff. You guys, a lot of times have this in you've done it before, or you have these materials. This is just about repurposing them and reframing them to make them in the moment. Right? Not hitting refresh. What's the latest, the comps, this in the last 12 months? Here you go, send it out. Right? Personalize it a bit. Make it to where, hey, we're in this moment, fall 2025, right? We know that interest rates may fall. Let's not wait till they do. Let's prepare. Let's get a plan. I think I talked to some of you guys about the messages around preparing and planning never fall flat because generally people don't like to be unprepared or don't like to look like they've not planned. And so while it might not be happening in this moment, you know something that's on the horizon because you operate in this arena, you're privy to information, and you're reaching out, sharing this to create a conversation. You should care about this. Let's put a plan together now. So the material you use, you have, right? The market report is not like, oh my God, I've never heard of one. You guys have probably been doing that. But think about it a little bit differently, not wash and repeat per se, but let's use what we have. Let's freshen it. Let's think about the moment. Let's think about what's on the horizon, right? And what the tensions that we talked about that people might be experiencing that they may not share, the opportunities that you see that they may not see. And let's make that the focal point. So you guys have seen it in action, but I talked about the prospecting engine needs lubrication, right? How do you kickstart this thing? Right? When you turn on the ignition, what are the things that are happening? I wish I knew more about cars because I could tell you how all these things work together, but you guys get it, right? So your market report, sending out a market report no different than me sending out a cheat sheet, right? Someone gets your report, whether it's property values, whatever it is, they are a lead, right? And Tony talked about it. Not everyone's going to download it. They may not download in the time period you wanted them to download. Doesn't mean they're not interested. It just means they weren't interested right now. So be mindful of that. But those who do download it, the assumption that it's something that it excites people or it means something to them or it's of interest, that is a win, right? That means, hey, I'm interested in what you're talking about. And when I download it, this starts this automated process. And what necessitates or what needs to happen in the background is for you to have a system in place that allows you to kind of automate this. So many of you use Business Tracker. Some of you might use Follow Up Boss, whatever your CRM tool is. This is where these things kind of sync. So Tony might have mentioned in some of your sessions, I know you mentioned on the call about creating a landing page, not just your website, but an actual individual page, right, to drive traffic to whatever that offer is. So the focal point is on the offer, not on these other things that might distract people, but the focal point on the offer, because you know that is what actually worked to bring people into the funnel. And now you have a way to capture information to start a conversation. And now you start to directly message them, right? So it's important what you collect, and don't make it an intake form that has 1,000 questions. We all know how we feel when we see that. You want to get the information that allows you to communicate with them. And maybe you ask them, what's your top fear, or what's the thing you're most worried about, or whatever it is, just to have a little bit of information on what might be going through their head. So when you do start the conversation, you can orient yourself around their biggest fear and threat and hopefully neutralize it for them. The system should allow for an automated email to go out, right? So after they get their info, you acknowledge the fact that, hey, it didn't go into a black hole. I am here on the other side. I appreciate you downloading it. I'm excited for this journey we're about to go together and the interest that you're taking in the information that I am offering. And that needs to happen soon, right? So a lot of times if you guys have signed up for platforms online, I certainly know it. Many times, like there'll be a message from the CEO or someone that's like, "Oh, thank you for joining," yada yada yada. It's done on purpose, right? They want to make you feel good. Now we see it so often that it kind of falls flat, and so people think about, how do I personalize it? Maybe a video, but you certainly need to do it. There's nothing worse than sending something and you just don't hear anything. So you want to acknowledge it, set the stage, set an expectation, introduce who you are. It's the introduction to your brand. Right? So that email, that's the digital, if you will, welcome card, right? Welcome to my world. This is what I'm about. This is what you're stepping into, and the excitement. The next thing to call out, and this is really important, is they signaled intention. They downloaded something. You took that download as, hey, that's a signal of interest. So for you to follow up with a phone call, it's not cold, because they took the first step. You know that they're interested because they took the time to download it. And so when you call, yes, it may not be the right time, but it's certainly for good reason. So there's an impetus to have and continue the conversation. Right? And you set the stage as to what that conversation might be. So it's not jarring. And that personalization is key. I think today, when I get them all the time, and nothing bothers me more than the robo text, especially when it's outdated, or the one that I get all the time now, which it's unbelievable. The, hey, we saw you and we think you'd be great for a podcast. And you read the email, and it's a manufactured email from someone saying, hey, I saw Brandon, we should reach out to him for a podcast. I've seen this place so many times. right? This wash and repeat. And that's what you don't want to have happen. And so the struggle is, how do I do that at scale, but still seem like there's an element of personalization to it? And that is always the rub. Um, I don't have the magic answer, the silver bullet for you. But what I can say is there's some times in life where if everyone goes left, you may go right. And the things that you probably think that, oh my God, I would never say that. Sometimes you saying that and addressing the elephant in the room actually is what allows for the connection. And so that's those robo texts you may get, the follow-up texts that sound like a bot. Maybe in your bot, you can anti-bot the bot, right? And actually poke fun of the fact that, yes, we know that these things sound like a bot, um, knowing that you're aware of this. So adding some comedy, some humanity to it, and it might actually connect. But it's less about what you're saying and the fact that you are saying something and that there is a process and this stuff is going out, the follow-up, the hygiene, the follow-through. So when you do talk to that person and get them on the horn, it may not be about selling them about that moment or selling them in that moment. It's about learning about who they are, where they're at, uh, what their life looks like, how their life and this asset interact with one another, right? And what the things in the horizon are that they should be concerned with or excited about, and making sure that you lead these conversations selling you. Now you're the product. So they leave saying, I can see Brandon fitting in my repertoire. That's someone who I want to work with. Right. They made something so complex seem so easy. They introduced an opportunity I didn't know about. They told me about a problem on the horizon that I was ill prepared for. I want to keep talking to that person. And so now each subsequent interaction conversation starts to get easier. And what ends up happening is you've sequenced your way to success. And when you start to do this, you start to see the results compounding. Right. So again, this slide here, less is more, kind of reinforces, this idea that this isn't about being fancy. This is about being real and being efficient and to the point. And if you can, dialing up urgency. I have a whole kind of lesson plan on this less is more kind of salesmanship here, but this is not, let me tell you, wax poetic about all the different things. This is about, hey, this is something you might be interested in or you should be interested in. This is what's happening in your market. Do you want to have a conversation? Let me run it on your address. This just happened in your area. If you're interested in selling your home or listing, you should want to know about this, or this might be of interest to you. Respecting their space, their day, right? And moving quickly with the right information. And like I said at the outset, what we are building is this methodology, if you will, your own personal playbook and process, organized, supported by a strong conveyor belt, your CRM, powered by really strong, clean data, engineered by you, rooted in strong market knowledge, strong product knowledge, knowledge of who you are and who you're for. All right. And scaled by systems and tools that allow you to reach and connect people, hopefully the right people, with this message. And reframed by, hey, I'm not trying to sell you now. I'm just trying to have a conversation. And I think this is something that you would want to have a conversation about. And lastly, and this is the thing I truthfully, I move so fast that I just fail to even think about how this stuff, is working. Um, and this is where the CRMs and tools and systems rather help you. Right. So while you hit the go button and your repeatable process happens, and you start to have these one-to-one conversations and build real relationship capital, that's what we kind of get seduced by, right? The conversation, and I love it. But for me, that payoff, how many things did I send out to get the two, three, or four real conversations? And so that's why we want to make sure that we're looking at our email open rate. Are the things we're saying getting people into our funnel? Maybe we switch an offer, right? That's a bit more meaty or substantive or powerful or topical. Is how we're collecting the information. Are we adding friction to the process, or is it simple? Is the system working? Meaning they submit the info and immediately they get what they wanted, the market report, to their inbox. And is each thing that they're getting leading them to the next step? And perhaps more importantly, each thing that they're getting, not just leading to the next step, but showing to them in a quick, efficient way why that next step is important and critical. And what you're doing in this process by reducing the number of things you're doing, focusing on one thing, repeating it, calibrating it, measuring it, you're lowering your costs per lead in the process. So the variability you see, systems, tools, this is tough to get an idea. I'm paying this here. I got this here. I don't know if it's working because it's not doing this. And I can't capture this because it's not going in the funnel. Now everything is consolidated, organized, linear, and something that you can investigate, for lack of a better word. What needs tweaking? Oh man, I got 10 people here, but only one converted here. Well, let's take a look at why these 9 didn't. Is there something that's not working here? And then the conversations that you do cultivate that maybe you don't transact with today, but could be transactions of tomorrow that you're building real relationship capital. You'll find that you don't necessarily need to transact with them for them to actually refer or refer you and advocate for you and evangelize you, because you built those relationships, authentic ones. That starts to become your network and sphere, which ultimately lowers your cost per lead because you're getting more leads from that one activity. And so now you're looking at your pipeline a bit differently. And like all things in life, not all things, the more you run it, the better it works. This compounded growth over time. And so at the outset of the call, I said, resist the temptation to just, oh, it didn't work once. All right. Try it again. Tweak it. Get feedback on it. I had a Compass agent who happens to be a friend of mine for 40 years, sent me an email yesterday, and he knows I'm just going to give him very honest feedback. And it's great that he sent it out, but the email just missed what he was trying to get. In fact, I don't even know what he was trying to get across. And I was like, hey, here's where I would break this up, make it more easy on the eyes, put your photo here, humanize it, understand this is how it shows up on mobile. It's a lot to digest, but that's how people are consuming it. But I go, the win here that I want you to take away is the fact that you're doing it, that you have a system in place. You'll calibrate and get the language right, but at least you are repeating it. And it comes monthly. Now, there's things he could do to make the impact, but at least the hygiene is there, right? It's like going to the dentist, you know? Oh, you're brushing your teeth, you're flossing. You might need to floss differently, but at least the habit is there. And every single person that's in your pipeline that you build these relationships with, that you start conversations with, don't be afraid to have them introduce you, connect, expand, advocate. And it's this consistency, like all things. We talked about the mindset shift at the very, very beginning. This is a change in behavior, a change in approach. It's embracing data, not being scared of it, but letting it work for you and letting it point out things that you might know are there, but are too scared to actually ask. But the data will show you, and then adjusting, but sticking with it. And that's the message I want you guys to kind of leave with. So as you think about what I shared today, one of the things that I always worry about, and I frankly could do a better job of reinforcing it, but is, everybody leaves here and be like, oh, okay, that was interesting, and then they go on with their lives. Maybe they look back at the presentation, maybe something sticks, probably not. But for those of you who are open to it, I think putting this stuff in practice, one, is the right thing to do, allows you to kind of test to validate some of the stuff. But also you have, whether it be the market guide, whether it be the stale leads, new leads, past clients, right? You have everything you need to start this today. And I'd be curious to see that, that a lot of times stuff seems insurmountable. Oh, it seems like so much work. You guys have the CRM, you have the report, you have the contacts. The only thing missing in this is your desire to try it, experiment, and see if it gets you a different result. And don't judge it by what you might see tomorrow. You would never do that to someone else. Give it some time, right? Run the play and see. And I promise you that sticking with it and being open and letting the data guide you on where to adjust it and what to refine, that you'll end up, like we said at the beginning, not reaching for things, working harder, wondering why this stuff's not working, but I'm working so hard. And actually, it's not about working harder. It's about taking stock of what you're working on, looking at what can work harder for you, not you, but the thing that you're doing. Give back the work and work smarter. And working smarter is about understanding who you're targeting. Less is more, refining, precision. And then when you find that person, that audience, literally repeating, repeating, repeating. And I will guarantee you, you will see your business transform. Now, I can't tell you about how much, but this is what every great salesperson that you see, that we all aspire to be like, man, what do they do? These are the things that they do, whether they know it or not, they probably do. But this is where they've taken stock of their day and said, how do I make sense of all this noise? And if you don't believe me that every salesman does it, every business that we look to has a set of defined processes and ways they do it. None of it is by coincidence. So think of yourselves like that, as you should, right? That's your ambition. You all want to be top producers. Some of you already are looking for that edge, that extra 10, 20% that's there, right? It's not going to become because of more activity. It's going to happen because you're smarter and more efficient and locked in, know who you're for, right message, right place, right time. And that's the secret. So next week, we are going to take a look at this world of digital here. What does that really mean? Um, we're going to look at traffic generation, what's happening, kind of new trends, where people are congregating, how do we get them, how do we attract them, um, paid advertising, organic reach, the funnel blueprint, kind of what we talked about today, right? How do we convert off those sales funnels? And then working smarter, not harder, this sustainability scaling. So you guys are starting to see now, hopefully, that you're building this foundation, uh, the tools, systems, process, and consistency should supercharge it. So we're going to stop here. Oh, wow. I've not been following the chat, but I imagine some of you might have questions. I don't know. No one said anything on the chat. I don't know if I should take that as a good thing or a bad thing. But anybody who has any thoughts, observations, stories they'd like to share, uh, please do. I think we get a lot from, I get a lot personally when I hear from you guys who are in it every single day. And hopefully this stuff is sticking and meaning something to you. So uh, please don't be shy.
Brandon, if no one else has a question, I guess
Yes.
I would ask. I think like I love all the material we've been getting, and I think I struggle a little bit because like for me, maybe I'm not very tech savvy. Well, I'm not. So like the whole I mean, I don't even have a landing page, and I know I could figure that out on a
Yep.
back end. But like, like I have like for instance a newsletter, right? And I do a lot of email to contacts I already have in my database, like past clients, friends, acquaintances, whatever. And those like get a newsletter or what have you. And you can see through Compass, like who opens it, who's clicking on it,
Yep.
interacting, etc. But then we have, and I know we've talked about this over the last few weeks. I have been listening. Um, like our farms, people have farms, or are likely to sells and stuff like that, where we may have just an address. And I know Navigate offers emails and contacts that we wouldn't obviously have access to. But we've talked
Yep.
a lot about emailing and like open rates and who's interacting with your material. But then there's also the fact like we have all these, farms we generally mail or door knock or something like that. So
Yep.
I guess would you suggest, I mean, because like it's hard to know who's interacting with our mailed stuff unless there's like Corfax has, a little like QR code where you can see if they've
Yeah.
actually interacted with it. But if you're not putting, I guess, a QR code, and maybe that's the problem, and I've heard you guys talk about that. Are you suggesting maybe we use the Navigate tool, kind of put some of these addresses of our farms into there and try to get their emails and then email them, versus mailing? Because it is hard to know who's interacting with mail, I guess, unless you guys are,
Yes.
that's,
Well,
I
so
guess
there's a
it's like a long-winded circular conversation in my brain,
well,
like
no.
what
But
to
I think
do.
none of it. Yeah, none of it is bad, and you're asking the right questions, right? Because it is confusing. It's like, how do we know what's working, what's not, what's the right activity, and like, what's the best way to just start those conversations, right? But no, like, give ourselves the best shot of actually having one.
Like people, yeah, and I guess I would say it's like people in your database, that's fine. Like I get that. But it's like people outside of your database that aren't quite in your database yet, like in a
Yeah,
farm, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what did you start just randomly emailing them to see if they're actually interacting with your stuff? Or do you get better at putting like a QR landing page type stuff
yeah.
on what
So,
you're mailing?
so one of the things that we talked about here is, sending out these kind of blast emails or blanket stuff that is, uh, yeah, people have done before in the past that like maybe you hit somebody that, you know, they are who this message was intended for, maybe not, but like it's spending a lot of money and you don't know if you're actually hitting the target. I think Tony brought up a good idea or a good example, like when you're driving down the street and you see a billboard, right? We pay a lot of money for that billboard, but we have no idea, did that billboard actually drive a conversion? Nobody know. So now we're living in a day and age in this digital world where we can actually engineer certain communication, whether it be through a QR code, whether it's, hey, go to my landing page, right? Where we know that specific thing because it's unique to that thing, it drove an activity and it brought that user there and they give you their information. We know that, okay, this thing had this impact. So I'd say the QR code, the landing page, those are in today's day and age, table stakes, right? You have to be doing that. I see postcards. I got a couple postcards from Compass last week for some agents in the area, and it just is. There are so many things wrong with it, and maybe I'm just so hyper focused on it and looking into it too much. But like, they did not have a QR code, no landing page. Like, there was no explanation, no stage setting of like what it is that I'm looking at. Like, there's just nothing. And they're probably thinking like, oh yeah, this is what we do, and this is, but it just is not. And they probably get a low engagement, but they're just going to keep doing it, not asking for the feedback.
Mhm.
So a lot of times, I know we don't like hearing things that we can improve on, or like, oh God, I don't. Sometimes, ask for that feedback, and whether it's not a person that you might have sent something to, just ask people, hey, when you get blasted from real estate agents, like, what are your first thoughts and impressions, or like what are the things that what would you like to hear? And this could be your friends, right? It's not like people who are prospects are like relegated to this one type of people. They're all over the place, right? Like, what are the things that you respond to, Philly? What are the things that friends in your network, your past clients, ask them? These great relationships, yes, love for you to advocate on behalf of me. Hey, real estate market's changing, and I'm trying to just communicate smarter. If you were to get something like, what would you open? What do you care about now? What things move the needle with you? Ask them, right? But make sure that when you are sending it out, whether it's cold prospects, people you're trying to revive, that it's there, you're driving them to a place where you can capture their information and continue the conversation. I think that's the first thing. Me, myself, emailing, I'm not a big, like, I get bombarded with emails every single day. And it's like, I get this anxiety, right? And the only times I respond back to cold emails is when I want to tell them, give them a piece of my mind, right?
Okay.
And vent. But like, I don't know where it's going. Is it going to spam? Is it hitting this? Like, I get why you're doing it because you're trying to get to scale. But thinking about the email maybe a bit differently, right? Maybe using the email and having a video with you, Philly, talking about it, right? So where it is a bit more personal, and there's tools that do that. But for me, the mail, direct mail is that's what that'd be my go-to.
Okay, so like the 50 contacts with our action items. So then really, because that's something measurable that we could actually start doing. But I guess the question with the 50 contacts, are these people in your database that you already have full information on, then the 50 contacts to
Could
go
be.
after? Or
It
there'd
could
be
be.
like 50 new ones?
So it could be, I think I said it could be brand new people, right? Because this is
Mhm.
just it's a market report. This is hopefully who you're sending it to are brand new, just aren't random, right?
Mhm.
So if you use a tool like Navigate and Prospect and find people in this specific area, right? And
Yeah.
this is where you're farming, doing a market report. Here's what's happening in your area, and it may not be a ton of transaction activity, and you might think, well, it's not really meaningful to them. I disagree. Yes, there might not be a lot of transaction activity, and here are the reasons why, but you know what's on the horizon. This is why we need to prepare. So when there is that uptick, you take full advantage. Let's have a conversation now. So that's to somebody new. You don't need to know somebody to tell them that.
Yeah, so then
Right.
I don't want to monopolize any more time, but then there's like 50 emails, and like, let's say you find the market report and they're part of your farm or something. How do you suggest we provide that so you can see if they've opened it? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've identified the 50. I'm gonna send them a market report kind of based on their neighborhood. I don't know them, but they're new prospects based on the kind of some of the navigate, information I found. They bode well with my likely to sells and my farm. How would
Yep.
you contact it? How would you give them that
Yeah,
market
yeah,
report?
that's a
That's
great
the final, the big piece. How do you get it to them?
yeah. So that is something that if it's brand new people, you might have to email, but it's how you um the art is how the email needs to be constructed,
Right.
right? The subject
Okay.
line. I can help you out with this offline.
Right,
The
right, right. No,
subject
I get
line,
that. Okay.
right? And it's not emailing them the market report. That's not what you want, right? You're giving them something before they've given you, right? So your headline needs to be not about the market report. It needs to be, something to the effect of, see how others are preparing for X, Y, and Z, or something that it dials up the urgency and allows you to be like, click this link below, and to get the market report. Very similar. I know you didn't go through the process, but or maybe you did actually. If you look at the cheat sheet
I did.
thing, right? Use that as your example,
Yeah.
if you will, right, on how to get people and then keep people going through. But like they gave me the information, I sent them the downloadable link. But for you, if it's brand new prospects, you're going to have to email them because you're not going to knock on their door. But it's all how the subject line is and how the email's constructed. And don't give
Okay.
away what you have, right? Get something in return and then you can give.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Hey,
All right.
Brandon. Brandon, it's
Oh, there we
Christine.
go.
Hey.
All right.
Hey, I sent out an email this week because one of my lenders had these crazy rates. And I've gotten huge interaction on the
Responses.
email, huge
It's not
responses,
not a
like
surprise.
100%
Uh-huh.
opening rate. And I was like,
Yeah.
what? I'm pretty good with open rates because I'm really picky with what I email people. So I usually get anywhere from 70 to 90, but it's like 100%. Some of these people
Yeah.
I don't know because I did
Yeah.
buy a mailing list last year for physicians. So what would you suggest is a good follow-up email? Like,
Let's get on the phone. That literally, I like if they open. So two
so they
things.
opened it.
Yeah. And so you probably took what a lender sent you with the interest rates, and now's the time, and yada yada yada, and shared that with them. So they opened it, but there was no call to action about what the next step was that you wanted them to do in that email, right?
Well, I
It was
did
just here.
say, please, something paraphrasing here, but, reach out to me. I'm happy to help, whatever. If you have any questions or want me to connect you to a lender,
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
that, but
Too soft, right? You
too
gave
soft.
them, yeah. I mean, listen, you gave them every reason to be like, thanks for what you gave me. I'll see you when I see you, right?
Okay.
So we talked about it. You gave them the red meat. Clearly, you
Yeah.
saw there's a motivation because you saw 100% of them download it. Whatever you said, which is why the lender probably created it, like that stuck with them to the point where they took the time to open it. 100% of them did. Now your thing is, let's get on a call now, right? Or if it's, do you want to learn about this or you want to take advantage of it? And that lender partner that you got the information from, presumably you have a
Yeah.
good relationship. Maybe you do a session, learn more about this now. Go to this landing page, sign up. We're going to talk about this,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that.
right? I don't know what the content was. I'm assuming something interest rates, right? And
Yep.
so, hey, whatever the message was, obviously you're seeing something at interest rates, you want them to take a desired action. Now is a perfect time because the interest rates are going down. It finally makes sense to maybe list your house because you can get back into, you can purchase a home and get an lower interest rate, and it makes sense now. I don't know what it was, right? But whatever it is, there's a reason why you sent them that. There's a desired action you wanted them to take. Whatever that action is, which is to call you, but call you for what? What is the thing that you want to have happen? That's actually not rhetorical. That is a question for you. What is the thing that you wanted to have happen?
Well, now that you mention it, do you think it would be a good idea to do like a Zoom with this lender or something?
Christine, what do you think?
Jump in
You
on?
don't need,
Yeah.
you don't need to ask me, but the fact that you asked the question means you already know the answer. Of course it is.
Okay.
Why not? Right?
Yeah.
You know it is. Don't be reluctant to do it. If you were sitting on the other side and got that, because you knew that the reason why you sent it out is you knew that somebody was out there that was going to respond to this, that you wanted to help somehow.
Right.
Use your thought partners with the information that maybe you don't have, but are in that space, who can maybe bring an audience to create the platform for those people to come to get their information. And let's have a conversation about it. Now they connect you with that opportunity. Now it's up to you what you do with it.
Gotcha.
But just sending an email being like, oh, contact me if this is of interest. Like, oh man, like, thanks, Christine. I'll think about you. Well, I got another email.
Yep, I know. Gotcha.
Right. So just be more
Yeah.
intentional about it. It's not, you didn't do anything bad. Like, I think it's smart. Like, you saw something that's an adjacent thing because it has an impact on what you were doing.
Yeah.
Said, hey, clearly interest rates move the needle on purchase activity. You should know this. Here's a lender that's doing this. Let's go. Right.
Right. Yeah. And yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
And lastly, before you go, and again, some people say, oh, don't do that. But you can always dial up I've helped others, learn how others are taking advantage of it. Or like, I'm talking to clients, make them feel like they're missing out. It's the urgency on steroids.
Right. Yep. Thank you.
All right. All righty, guys. I know we're way over. Or 5 minutes over, but thank you. Oh, real quick. I sent you guys a playbook on how to use Navigate with Likely to Sell from my CRM. Did you guys get it?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Hopefully
already
that's more than
started
one
it.
person getting it. Did it make sense?
Yeah.
Charlotte did not get it. All right. VJ on the call. Charlotte and Susan didn't get it. Let's make sure that they're tagged in our CRM. So they do get it, and I'll resend it out
Yep.
to you guys. Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Hi, guys.
Happy prospecting.